bear with me one more time. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, with that, we will take a look at the agenda here real quick for city councilors. Please note that we do have a change on the consent agenda. Topic number B is not approval of the June 2026 check register report. It will be approval of the May 2026. Much as I'd like to think we're very close to fiscal year out, a little early. So just keep that in mind. And with that, is there any consent agenda topic you would like to pull up from regular? I will talk a little bit on the mayor update on item number C. Okay, with that, we'll keep it as standing. First topic for discussion this evening will be our public hearing for the budget for fiscal year 2026-2027. With that, we have public hearings for the state shared revenue. So with that, I will open a public hearing for state shared revenue. It is now 6:38 p.m. With that, I will hand the topic now over to our budget officer, who will begin, our interim city administrator, Mark Necko.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, councilors. So the first item that we have is our state shared revenue, which basically tells the state of Oregon that one, we qualify, and we have to, you notice on the resolution, there are 7 areas that we have at least 4 of that we serve, such as police protection, street construction, maintenance and lighting, sanitary sewers, storm sewers, planning, zoning, and subdivision control, and one or more utility services, e.g. water. So we more than qualify for that. However, if they do require, the state of Oregon does require that the council certify that can be 4 or more of those items are being provided to the citizens. So that is the first resolution with this. The second, which is a co-resolution, is then a resolution declaring the city of Hubbard's election to receive state revenues pursuant to the Oregon statute, based upon, of course, its predecessor resolution that we talked about. So those are the 2 resolutions that are up. It's just it's a required formality by the state of Oregon to be certifying that we can get eligible to get those state share.
Okay, with that again, I'll ask council that is present, do you have any comments or questions on the state shared revenue?
I do.
No. Okay. And then for the audience here, just so you know, before we go into public hearings, we do provide said services, as mentioned. This is right here as well, and it's again a formality that we have to go through every year by state law. So if there's no questions from council, and I see none, I will ask the public if there's any comments or questions on our state shared revenue. I don't think there's anyone even online. Yep. Okay. Okay. With that, I'm going to close the public hearing on state shared revenues. It is currently 6:40 p.m. and I'll call for a motion to adopt resolution number 849-2026 and 850-2026.
I move that we adopt resolution number 849-2026, a resolution certifying that the city of Hubbard provides 4 or more municipal services in order to be eligible to receive state shared revenues, and concurrently resolution number 850-2026, a resolution declaring the city of Hubbard's election to receive state revenues pursuant to ORS 221.770.
I second that.
Okay, we do have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Anyone opposed say nay. Okay, with that, both resolutions do pass. Let's move on to the next one. This is for our budget for fiscal year 2026-2027. And I do want to thank all who did participate in the budget committee last month. It was great. It was a long meeting, but we got through it. With that, I'm going to go ahead and open our public hearing for budget fiscal year 2026-2027. It's currently 6:41 p.m.
And again, I'll hand the, um, I'll hand the, chair, if you want to call it that, over to our budget officer. So who is it again? Steve Martinko.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, councilors. We will go through this is the same, essentially the same presentation that we had in the budget committee. However, this now is really geared towards showing you the highlights. Please, if there's any questions, we can either go back, or you can stop me and ask me if there's anything that stands out to you as needing further discussion. We have a balanced budget of $15 million, $15,575,303 to be exact. And it's balanced fundamentally because our revenues balance with the materials and services that we are providing. That is what makes a lawful balanced budget. Of that, you can see that we have revenue that we use. The first amount is $4,189,000. Essentially, that is our grants and loans. Those are things that we use to take care of our services. We receive approximately $1.5 million for charges for services. That's our water rates, sewer rates, all the things that we charge for the city in terms of receiving revenue. We receive $1,160,000 in property taxes, and then smaller amounts, $411,000 in fines and fees, and another $220,000 in franchise fees. That would be from Comcast, Xfinity, PGE, etc.
Who's not working? Want me to move it?
Yes, please. Next slide. Our expenditure totals are the same, $15,575,303. And what this chart shows is that we have this for this fiscal year, we have an increase about $222,000 in personnel services. That's our benefits and staff payroll. And we have an increase in $137,832 in overall in materials and services. That's spread across our police department, parks, water, sewer, and streets. The minus number, $1,940,000, that is representing the capital outlay we're spending from our grant money to do our projects. Again, the total expenditures is $15,575,303. So matches what our revenue is. All right. On the bottom of each of the charts in the budget packet, you'll see three lines at the bottom: contingency, reserve, and ending fund balances. You will also note at the side is there's something called unappropriated ending balances. In this budget, the unappropriated ending balance is $0. I will point out that normally in unappropriated, and I don't want to say normally, but if you can do so, your unappropriated should equal approximately 3 to 4 months of operating expenses. And what that does is basically set aside that money. You cannot, once your budget's adopted, you cannot spend that money until the next fiscal year. With one rare exception of bankruptcy and that type of thing. In this budget, it's all been placed in the contingency. That is not unusual. Our contingency of $3,159,000 essentially is about 2.25 months of operating expense. But it does allow the council, if needed, to more readily access that through resolution. The reserved for future expenditures amount is what we think we might need for not operating funds, but for equipment, materials, repairs, and that type of activity. So for instance, if we have a major breakdown of the sewer plant traveling arm, we would have some money available to take care of that without having to go through a supplemental budget necessarily to do so. But this particular slide is all of our funds, not the general fund, but this is an aggregate of all the funds that we have. So The general fund snapshot, I'm just gonna go through these so that you just simply can see the big numbers. We have $2 million in our fund balance. And of course, 1.16 million is comes from property taxes. We have the fines and fees. The one I will note here is transfers in. That's 190,100. I will mention at the very end that I think that's probably something that we should look at in this next fiscal year. What those are charges to our streets, water, and sewer that go back into the general fund. Nothing wrong with that. What you would typically want those to do would be say, we're using this for our audit. Something that goes across all the funds. The problem with that number is that I think I'm looking backwards and it's kind of been that way. It's lower than last year, but what exactly is it? And I think if you look at that and see some of the structural imbalances we have in some of our funds, you can wipe them out by simply looking at what that transfer really is. I think that's not necessarily something that by approving this budget, you need to change or look at, but it is something that should be looked at going forward. We'll get that. Okay. The water fund, as we move down, is $646,959. That's our beginning fund balance. We have over $500,000 in charges for that. And we have just about the same amount in materials and services. It holds us up. And I would say that's about of our enterprise funds. The water fund is probably the most structurally balanced of all of them. We placed $627,832 in contingency for this. You'll notice the transfers out I've detailed on this one. We have $25,000, which I believe should be. This is the tower leases. I don't know why it necessarily got stuck underwater. Maybe it's because they're on the water tower, but truthfully, they need to go back to the general. That's a general fund item. The $39,000, I would assume, goes for auditing and the things that would be normal to extract out of that particular fund in order to maintain the services that the city requires of all the different funds, whether they're enterprise or not. The sewer fund is $201,506. We received $559,805. This is the fund that's probably the most worrisome in terms of structural imbalance. Again, I'll point out the transfers. I think this is a mistake. $25,000 fee. It's listed the same. It looks like it was duplicated from the water. And that's probably something that could be looked at another time and maybe removed. If you did that, what would happen would be it would reduce the transfers out to sewer, but it would basically take $25,000 out of contingency out of the general fund. That's how it would balance if you made that particular transfer. The street fund is one of our smallest, $663,508. We received $301,000 in state revenues. We transfer out $21,450. We have a very small contingency amount. Our materials and services, basically what you're looking at is just the very basics for street sweeping, pothole maintenance, some street signs, that type of thing. There's no money in this fund for doing major street repairs of any kind. To summarize some of our operating pressures that we've already discussed, you see where the end where it says we have an operating gap. This is basically, it's not that we are structurally imbalanced necessarily, or that we have run out of money, or we need this amount of money in any of these funds. What this represents is essentially saying if we spent every single dime that we budgeted for materials and services, that's the gap you would have at the end. Now, rarely do you ever spend every single dime, and we certainly watch that so that we don't spend every single dime budget. But if we were to make that calculation, this is where you would end up with. If we, for instance, removed $190,100 of transfer fees, your gap under water, sewer, and streets would diminish drastically, and it would become much more structurally balanced. What that would tell you, if you did that, for instance, would be that you would want to look at rate increases on your sewer. That's how you would determine what that next level in rate management would be. So again, those are just, I'm just giving you an overview of that. I know the gap looks nasty and bad, but it's really an idea of looking as where are we deficient? Where as a city do we need to look at in terms of raising rates or looking at the efficiencies of how we deliver services more carefully? That's really what we're looking at there. That's what those indicators are. I'm gonna go through these rather quickly because these are our reserves. We do have $165,000 approximately in reserves. Of that, 44,000 is still dedicated for doors and security cameras in City Hall. Our parks improvement, we have $91,000 in part, well, actually $127,327. There is a capital outlay of $50,000 that was set aside. What that was primarily for was to make sure we had money if we had any grant matches and that type of thing. Typically the grants require 20%, that would help with that. Street construction fund is one of our healthiest reserves, $730,708. Now, if you were to use every bit of that to build some streets, you get about 2 city blocks. But it's big use, as we've discussed, is in the URD, Urban Renewal District. This is the money that can be used to leverage what we receive in incremental taxes to actually do some real work in town. Our sewer construction fund, this is what we have grants, loans, etc., to build out our sewer. We also, as I mentioned, we have been awarded at least $1.9 million so far, subject to congressional approval, of course. But that would add to the sewer construction fund. This money is not for operations, it's purely for paying the contractors, equipment, and services to improve our sewer system.
And just to be clear on that one real quick, because I know it's discussions as well, but if we do receive the additional 1.9, because congressional approval goes through, we'll have to do a supplemental and add that.
Exactly. Any amounts that we just because we think about it doesn't necessarily
That's right.
mean
It's not materialized.
Yeah, once it receives in hand, the mayor is correct. It has to go through a supplemental budget process so that council can accept that money. It would be the same if we are successful in getting a grant for Barnsley Park.
Yep.
You would have to have a supplemental to accept that money into the system. This is the same with the water construction fund. We have $1,160,000 in the beginning. We have at $2,289,248 at this point. That will go down significantly over the next 6 months as this water construction project is underway. And last, we have the ARPA. That's one giant blue circle, blue donut. We have $155,229. This is going towards our water system. Are there any questions?
Any additional questions from council?
I don't know.
Okay, I have no questions either.
Okay.
Do we have any questions from the public? Okay, with that, then I'm gonna go ahead and close the public. Do we have anyone online? First question.
Just Chief Carney.
Just Chief Carmen
Carmen
and Ryan Adams.
and Ryan Adams.
Chief Carmen or Mr. Adams, do you have any questions? I'll make sure we give everyone an opportunity.
I don't have any questions. Thank you. This is Michael.
Thank you, Chief.
No, thank you. This is Ryan Adams. I'm just here to listen.
Awesome. All right, with that, I'm gonna go ahead and close the public hearing on the budget for fiscal year 2026-2027. It's currently 6:56 PM. With that, I'll make a call for a motion to adopt resolution number 852026.
Yeah, I move that we adopt resolution number 8512026, a resolution adopting the budget, making appropriations, levying, and categorizing property taxes for the fiscal year 2026-27.
I second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed, say nay. Okay, and let record show that we have two counselors who are not present. All right, with that, let's move on to other agency reports. This allows our wonderful police chief to get out of here sooner rather than stay around for the entire meeting. So with that, Chief Carmen, I'll hand the floor to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate that. First, I want to start by going over the calls that we responded to in May. We had 44 calls for service, which brings our yearly total to 216 calls. And that's through January 1st through June 2nd. We had 30 calls in Hubbard. We did 10 mutual aids to Woodburn, 3 to Aurora, and 1 to Molalla. We had multiple working structure fires in the area, and then we had a couple grass fires as well. Our staffing status is 41 total members currently. Across those 41 members, we did about 195 and a half hours of training in the month of May. Participated in public education and outreach, 5 hours. Fire inspections, we did 3 hours of business and community inspections. And then we're in the middle of hiring 2 seasonal firefighters. That's 100% funded by a grant from the Oregon State Fire Marshal's Office. That will allow us to put 1 extra person on from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. From July 1st through October 31st. So we were very fortunate to get that grant. Some other news. The Hubbard Fire District did start updating our insurance office rating, our ISO rating. We currently are a 4 in the city and a 10 in the rural area. And our hope is to get to 3 in the city and somewhere probably around a 6 in the rural area. That's good for property owners because it reduces the amount of property insurance that they pay. And I'm working on a assistance to firefighters grant for staffing. And hopefully that will get us some staffing for approximately 3 years. So now I'll take any questions if you guys had any.
Councilor Pichette?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Councilor Evans?
I don't have any questions, thank you.
I don't have any questions, Chief Carmen. I appreciate everything you guys do. I do know there's going to be a topic later this evening about the discolored water in Hubbard, and we're currently working on a root cause analysis of what caused it starting in May. We think there could be maybe a connection, and I just want to put this on your radar because maybe we could talk about it later. But when you guys came in to fill up some tenders, you might have done it super quickly. I know time is of the essence and property and lives are in danger. But we want to see how we can maybe in the future also work with you guys to try to mitigate any potential disruptions in water in the future. Again, this is just a FYI. Once we figure this out, I'd love to be able to sit down and chat with you and our city administrator as well to see what we can do to try to mitigate discoloration of water in the future if we have those type of emergencies.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I have no clue. This is just preliminary root cause analysis. We're still going through that process. So,
yeah, I did talk a little bit with one of the public works individuals. And when a situation like that arises, when we have to use a lot of water for a fire or a tender shuttle operation, what we're going to do is we're going to notify the dispatch center so that they can at least let Public Works know that there's going to be an increase in water usage.
right. And that might help us to be able to allow homes in that area that might be impacted along that line. So that's the type of stuff that it's just proactive the best we can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Convolute. I think we had an issue of just a perfect storm happen with a big draw on the water earlier than normal for water usage on top of the tenders needing to fill up. It was just a perfect storm. So anyhow, I do appreciate everything you guys do across the city and the entire district.
Yeah, I just want you guys to know anything we can do to help cause prevent issues like that being caused in the future, we're willing to do whatever we can to do that. So
And again, I think there'll be an opportunity maybe in a few weeks for you, I, and our city administrator to sit down and have a chat, and Public Works. Got to include you. All right, Chief, thank you very much. I'll cut you loose.
thank you, Mayor.
Okay, with that, our next topic will be Marion County Road presentation, and I will invite up Marion County Engineer, Mr. Long. You were all admiring the blues on the map, and you're trying to figure out, is that 50 or is that 20?
That's a good question. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and councilors. For the record, my name is Carl Lund. I'm the traffic engineer in Marion County. Is the mic picking me up okay?
Yep.
Okay,
I hear
perfect.
you good.
Yeah, so those are ODOT colors. And so we are keeping along with the ODOT speed limits, and yes, those are very close, the blues are.
Very close.
So, one of the things that we're doing at Marion County is that we are looking at adding transition zones, which are reduced speed limits on the outer edges of the cities, going into the city between the 55 mph and the 25 mph zones, at all of the cities in Marion County. So looking at all the roads that are Marion County roads going to city roads in Marion County. And so, Broad Acres is not included in this, you may see, and that is because it already has a reduced 45 mph speed limit going into town. We've looked at that, and Steve requested that we look at it as well, and it's something that we will be watching to see if we think it continues to work or not. But we are currently looking at adding on Front Street and on Mineral Springs Road. We're looking at making a quarter-mile, 40 mph zone between the 55 mph zones and the 25 mph zones. So, are there any questions on that or any?
No, it makes perfect sense, because I think right now it goes from like 55 to
The
25.
Yeah.
Very quickly.
Crazy.
Very quickly.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a big difference in those speeds, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
I think it'd be great to have a gradual, letting people know you're coming into a city zone, start to slow down. And I'm assuming eventually, if Bear Creek development happens, we'll end up pushing the 25 even further out, and thus having the transition even further out.
Yep,
So,
exactly.
no, I have no questions. That makes perfect sense. You guys have a timeline on you would think you would want to implement this?
We are implementing them surprisingly quickly. I've been saying 3 to 4 months, but our sign shop also does all of our striping around the county, and in a bunch of other counties, they go as far out as Tillamook County to do road striping. And so they'll be busy doing that, so it's probably a little longer than 3 or 4 months, but that's what I've been saying.
You guys can just give the city a heads up, maybe a couple weeks prior to, if you possibly can, allows us to start an education program.
Oh, absolutely.
So it doesn't feel like the police are just targeting people all of a sudden speeding in what is now a reduced speed zone.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Okay, any questions from staff on this? Any concerns? Okay, police department gives a thumbs up. That's good. Any additional questions from council?
Not any questions. I know when I'm coming down Front Street, I'm having to slow down really quick, and sometimes cars get right behind you.
Mhm.
Why are you slowing down?
Because
Because usually they don't slow down until they're well within the 25 mph
Yeah.
zone and you got the stop sign.
The stop
up there,
sign, yeah, right.
And that's usually where people start slowing down when they're already in the 25 miles.
Yeah.
But luckily, we don't have any houses or any much activity in that area to people on the streets or anything like that, so. But yeah, I've been run up on it a few times coming in there, so yeah, transition zone would be good if people pay attention to it. And there's a certain educational transition there. We put a new stop sign here in town, a couple of new stop signs in it. It took me a little bit to get used to that stop sign there, so,
There's definitely a transition period with drivers. Drivers primarily drive by memory and feel. So it'll take a little bit of a transition.
a little bit of a pattern recognition thing going on. I think that's what I ran into with the stop signs. And used to stopping here, then you drive and stop there, and then when they had a new one, go, wait a minute.
it happens. Well, I don't have any questions. I do appreciate you coming in and giving us an update and being proactive on this.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you. All right, let's move on. Topic number 5, tree discussion. We'll hand it over to interim city administrator Mark Necko.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, councilors. This is a discussion about trees in the city of Hubbard. Specifically, since I've been here, there's been a lot of discussion internally in Public Works of past standards that have been used or just anecdotal. This is what we've done in this particular case, and this is what we've done here. And so I also get requests from citizens about tree removal. Most of it is in the, a lot of it is within what we call the planter strip. Particularly when trees have their roots have decided to upheave every single bit of concrete or asphalt in the vicinity. These are the wrong trees that were put in necessarily, and I do provide now with when people want to remove them, I would say, yes, we need to replant them, but here's the approved tree list. So we do have that, and that was approved a while back, so now folks get that. There are, however, other cases where people want to take down really big trees. And in particular, we have some really big trees in Cary Park. Those are very giant sequoias, so there's 7 of them. Anecdotally, they were planted about the same time as the homes that were in that area were first being put in place in the early 70s. So homeowners have watched them grow from little to very big. They are currently trimmed up about approximately, I haven't measured them exactly, but if I kind of look like a 8-foot 2x4 and march it up, maybe between 24 and 30 feet up. So they are trimmed back. However, we do have some folks that would like to remove 2 or 3 of those trees. I believe that they are probably what at this point, because their sequoias are very, very big, they are border trees. So they probably extend across both properties, if you will. So the question is, and this is, I'm just bringing this up because this is a recent example. It's one that a citizen has come forward over this last year and has made comments that they would like these removed. What is the position and process that the council would like for looking at these and making a decision? I mean, what kind of input would you require from Public Works? Money set aside to do this. We don't normally set aside money in Public Works for tree removal. There would usually be a contingency thing or an insurance matter because we had made a storm and someone came in and reimbursed the city for the removal of the trees. So this is really about guidance, and maybe it should be another discussion, but that you might set aside as a town hall or something else. But I just wanted to come to you and ask for that because we do get asked at Public Works. And I want to make sure that we are providing the guidance from the city.
Number one, I think we need to have a full council for discussion. So we really need to have Councilor Zadi here and I believe Councilor Steiner. So probably move that in. I am well aware of the Cary Park trees. We do have our residents here as well. There'll be testimony from them. We have so they can come up and give us an update on their speak as well. In terms of removing trees, I know that's a very sensitive topic within the city. We removed 2 trees at Rivinus Park last year, and that went over like a ton of bricks. We had people complaining that we were removing healthy trees. Why were we doing such? But at the same time, I do agree. I don't think we have a very solid code and or process for review of a potential tree. Give you an example. Trees at my own property. If I wanted to remove them, I could probably go down and say, hey, city, I'm going to remove these. But can I do that? Right. And depending on who's sitting on my seat or who's sitting on the council or who's sitting on Public Works, they might say, no, those are healthy trees. You can't cut them down. Then I can turn around and say, well, I'm taking on additional risk and liability if these fall on my house. And I think risk of property damage and or insurance claims is something that the city should take into consideration. If the tree is on the public side and it falls on said house or someone's house, is the city now liable? So I think it would be great to get input from CIS on what their recommendations would be.
Okay.
Budgeting for said thing though is we don't typically want to have a line item in the budget saying we're taking out 10 trees a year, 5 trees a year. I do agree it would probably be based on contingency funds on the implied risk of the tree. And again, it allows council to then step back when being questioned why a tree, even if they're massive sequoia trees, are being taken out. Why are we taking them out with a justification? The last thing I want is the Sierra Club or whatever they're called now coming in, getting onto us for taking out someone's tree or a tree on public property or whatever it might be. I think we need to be very careful about that. And if we don't have an ordinance in place today, then let's set up the discussion probably when we have full council. And we have the new city administrator in place and you back on full public works, so we can get a lot more attention on it. And let's review said discussion on what guidelines can we follow to make sure, A, we are in compliance with what CIS would recommend. For you guys, so you know, CIS is the insurance agency that insures the city. So usually we don't do anything without them blessing it because we don't want to get in trouble. We also need to make sure that we're in compliance with any, you know, I would want to double check that we're not violating some statute somewhere in Oregon code that's saying that healthy trees should not be removed for any other reason than just convenience. It's goodness gracious, I'd hate to see that there's a spotted owl or something that's been found in there. Again, I would look at sequoia trees though, and there's a reason those are no longer on our right of way planting permits, or where we don't want people planting any conifers at the end of the day in their yards. They grow, they get very big, they destroy roofs, they destroy grounds, sidewalks, streets, and eventually foundations. I'm watching one grow right behind my house, and I'm just watching it slowly destroy a house.
So messy. They're so messy.
Yeah, and they're very messy too.
Messy.
Yeah, pine needles everywhere. I see it every time we have a storm. Rivenus Park is covered in pine needles. Yeah, it gets pretty messy. So I think there's justifications and reasons to do so. But at the same time, I think we need to figure out, A, how can we afford it? Again, we just saw the budget. We are in deficit spending at this point in time. And what I mean by deficit spending is we are spending more than we're currently taking in. So we're burning down funds that we've saved up. We're also going into some very unfortunate times, potential recessions on the horizon, et cetera, which means we're going to have to really watch every dollar we've got in there. Now, if homeowners want to participate with us to assist in that cost, I think that's another consideration we need to take a look at as well. But taking trees down are expensive. The 2 trees we took down at Rivenus Park, I believe, were $8,000 to take 2 trees down.
Yes.
Which is actually pretty cheap. They didn't have to bring a crane in. I watched them. I don't know if anyone else watched them take those things down, but it was extremely impressive to see the roping system that they had set up. As they cut them, they fell, they hung by the ropes, and they lowered them down. Never seen that before in my life. Engineering feat, if you tell me. So there's ways to do it without bringing out very expensive cranes. The question would be, though, that was on an open park. So if we look at those in Kerry Lane, here's my concern. We are right around a bunch of homes. One little mistake bringing down those trees, a rope snaps, it cuts the wrong way, we could be right into someone's house. That's where I would want CIS's input. So I guess from my point is, A, I think we need to table a council discussion until we have full council. So probably let's give poor Eric at least a month in seat before we hammer him on this one. But let's try to line this one up for, I'm thinking of the month, August. Yeah, for an August discussion. In that time, why don't we start a discussion with CIS to see what they would recommend on how to deal with these very large trees in a very densely populated area. So I believe they're right behind your house. Okay, and I'm assuming there's houses probably adjacent to yours on the other side and probably around them as well. Yeah, I haven't walked by. I walk by Kerry Park all the time. I keep meaning to look at it, but I do know there's big trees over there. My question would be, how would CIS recommend those be removed? And we might even be able to get an idea from R&R Tree Services or something like that to see what they might recommend as well. But let's line that up for an August discussion. We'll have full council, I'm assuming. I'm assuming Councilor Gonley and Michelle will still be here.
Yeah. Should be. I'm trying to plan it. I might be in Colorado in August, but not a full month August. So.
Okay, there you go. So let's plan for this discussion to take place so we can at least have it. It gives you time, Steve, to at least have a call out. CIS has at least a month or a month and a half to provide some recommendations as well. Give them, at the end of the day, just give them a good, overview of the situations we're facing. And I'm assuming Kerry Lane being one of them. I'm assuming there's going to be others throughout the city.
There are. Kerry Lane is one of several areas that folks have asked, or we know that have large trees that might be a hazard in case of a ice storm or windstorm or something. So, no, this is very good. I will gather, this is good staff information to gather so that the city administration council can have a good discussion.
Perfect. Any additional comments or input from Councilor Michelle and Councilor Youngman?
Well, I'm trying to remember, digging through the Hubbard City Charter and all the various ordinances and things that are in there. There are a lot of items in there relating to trees, and there's an approved list and a not approved, and there's something tree committee.
There a tree committee?
Yeah,
Doesn't exist, but
I don't know who's supposed to be a part of it or what, or maybe, and Councilor Young, we might know more about it. Maybe it predates even your term as mayor.
Hasn't come up before.
where you go, here's the tree committee, yeah.
I know there's a safety one time.
Yeah. The other thing I would mention is, there have been instances where trees have come down without calls to the city, permission, et cetera, specifically near to my house. So I'm not, promoting that in any way. I'm just saying it's a thing that happens. And I'm not sure how much we want to tell people what to do on their property. I understand public right of way is one thing, but if you have a tree, and there are some large trees on some people's property. I would hate to tell them they can't take something down on property that they own, so.
Yeah, I think my assumption is cities wise, if it's on your property, you have the right to remove said tree.
Okay.
It's assumption.
Yeah.
It's a huge assumption.
I think, there's some language in the city charter and the various ordinances that speaks to that. I just don't remember it off the top of my head. But that can be part of our discussion.
It would be good to see to make sure, I know Woodburn has restrictions on private property removal. When the winter storm hit in 2021, or was it it was 2021.
Yeah.
People took advantage of that for right reasons to remove said trees that were causing damage.
Yeah.
And then the city clamped down. I don't think we have that.
I don't wanna go there if we don't.
No, I think that would impose on someone's property.
No.
I think it's on their property, they should have the right to take a tree down, unless there's some historical significance to it, and I don't see that be the case.
Our ordinances, we have language, as the counselor alluded to. But the problem is that the language is not really aligned well across our charter, our ordinances, or the development code, planning code. So that would be nice to review all that and look at it all aligned so that we have consistent direction to public works staff and citizens on how to deal with all these different, and when it's appropriate to come to council.
Perfect.
So maybe the planning commission can talk about it before we talk about it.
I think their next meeting's July or is it?
Yes, July.
Could you add an item to their agenda on trees?
Tree discussion.
Let them know it's not tree houses.
Yeah, I know locally around my place, but there was one tree on 7th and C, and I think that was. Well, basically it was in that strip right at the corner, and they took it down, I think over a period of several months. They limbed it and they took off the top third and then they took off the bottom third and finally they cut it off. And I believe that was pretty close to being on public property. It may have been on public right of way, but again, it was within that strip between the sidewalk and the street. And then over on B Street, somebody took out a rather tall tree, again, a section down to like more affordable that way for them. I myself, I had a tree taken out in my backyard. That wasn't a big deal, but I had a big maple in my front yard that I took down myself. It was starting to break the sidewalk up and I didn't want to repair the sidewalk. But that was quite a few years ago, but yeah, that thing, I fell it across my front yard. I did have my garage that I was concerned about. I figured it fell on the sidewalk or the street. It wasn't going to impact that too bad. But I got it in my front yard. I got it just about where I wanted it.
Yeah, and I think that's things we need to make sure is discussed. If it's on the right of way, damaged property. especially for sidewalks, because if it's on the right of way. And, you know, the owner has to maintain said tree. But we have to offer them the opportunity, in my opinion, to remove said tree if it's starting to cause sidewalk or street damage. Because we're gonna go back to them and ask them to fix the sidewalk. And if it's caused by a tree that we want there, then there's a conflict in my opinion.
And we've had several instances since I've been here, working with property owners to have them remove the tree, put down root barriers, which is also required, and then they replant with an appropriate tree. So 3 of those so far we've given permits for.
By the way, root barriers are great. I know Portland's been doing it now for a while. Most big cities have been doing it. Prevents the root, it pushes the roots down and away from the sidewalks. I'm assuming still in 50 years they're gonna bust it up anyways, but it at least provides immediate.
Someone else's problem.
I'll be dead. But I mean, it prevents what you can see in a lot of new housing developments from just 20 years ago, where trees have already grown up to, you can see it down 7th, 10th Street actually. So, okay, let's table that for then August, and let's please line a topic up for, planning commission next month. And if we can give, Commissioner or Planning Commissioner, Holm, who's the chair, just heads up what the topic's gonna be about. Okay, if there's any other discussion on that? All right, we'll move that discussion to July. Now appearances of interested citizens.
Right.
Yep. And just state your name and address.
My name's Valerie Wilson. I live at 2253 Allen Avenue. And like we have mentioned that our house is next to Carey Lane, the Carey Lane playground. And there are 3, we thought they were fir trees, but you think that they're
Are they fir trees or sequoias?
Sequoias.
sequoias.
They're just in keeping there.
It's bad enough, but anyway, but yes, they line the fence. And the way that part goes, where our property is, it kind of comes to like a point. And those trees are just kind of like right there. I got pictures of it in case you guys wanted to look to see exactly what I'm talking about. And where they're taking up the fence.
Sure, yes.
We'll pass it by.
But we've been in our home for 49 years. Bought it brand new. That was a field behind us. Mr. DeBrava was the farmer. We watched him plant those trees. And not thinking, 49 years, that how tall they were going to be and what's taking place with them. We've had branches fall down on our fence, break our fence a couple of times. We don't come to the city, we don't, turn it into our insurance because our deductible's too high.
Yeah.
So we fix it ourselves over and over. And now the root system is coming into our side. It's, we have to cut our fence around the root system. And it's kind of making it so that the lineup of the fence is just coming apart because of the growth of all of that. It's making it come away. We deal with fir cones all the time in our yard. I have my garden boxes that are just right over the side of that fence line. And I am constantly getting the seeds, the cones, the branches, everything lands where my garden is. We've got 2 cherry trees and big oak tree just right up above it. And sap falls down or the pitch falls down and it falls on your vegetables, it falls on the cherries. We get a good windstorm like we've been having. Our whole backyard is full. It covers it. We're preparing for company coming out for my granddaughter's graduation party. So we've been working around in the yard and I've been painting and I painted the back deck. while I'm painting, the wind decides to blow all those little seedlings on everything that I painted and is wet. So now I gotta pick that all up and repaint it. So needless to say, it's a nuisance. It's been a nuisance for many years. We did appreciate when the city was able to have somebody come out there and trim them up higher. I think they were only gonna do it for the park. But we were out there at the time and we asked them if they could, come where the branches are on our side. And take them up higher, and they agreed to do it. That was great. In fact, I'd really like if they just sheared off everything on our side. Maybe that would make it so nothing would come into, our gutters, our yard or whatever. But I just trying to present this to you guys because it's been a nuisance. We're getting older. My husband just turned 76 on Sunday, it's just.
Happy birthday.
Yes, but it's just a lot of work. And just was wondering if there's some way that the city could help us out with that.
Could you hand those photos over to Steve Martinecco?
I should certainly can.
Yeah, Steve, what I'd like to do is actually have CIS chime in on that. Because what I see are 3 trees now trimmed up high, which means now they have a canopy up top that severe windstorm is gonna be acting as a sail. Before, if the branches go down, you dissipate that. But if you have one stick that goes up with what presents itself as a very heavy canopy on top with a sail and a heavy windstorm, it could be, that's where I would like CIS to weigh in on that.
And from personal experience with folks that have trimmed up their fir trees in particular, that have a very shallow base system, it's exactly what happens if they fall over. That's how windfalls happen.
And that's what I'd like to, that's why I really like CIS to chime in. So those photos are actually very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for presenting as well.
Yes, thank you. Listen.
Just be patient with us as the city does work slowly. But hopefully by August, we can start having any discussions on it.
Yeah.
Until then, at least we'll hopefully provide some shade.
Yeah.
Yeah, this weekend.
All right, any other interested citizens? Oh, we lost. Adam, was it Ryan or?
Yeah, no longer there.
All right, we bored him. All right. Ms. Button, anything?
Well, I totally agree with them. I've got 7 in front of my house. Pine cone rejects are blowing. I mean, my yard is just full of them.
It's just because the pine cones like it.
And you get the blower out there and the wind blows right back on you, but I got 7 of them, and I do have questions about that. Because the roots are in my yard now, and they're bigger, they're lifting up there, or sunk the driveway or something, mess up the driveway again. And I've got roots in my yard going to the house, and I don't know if they're going under the house. I just happened to find them, so I don't know, because they're going around the sidewalk and around the house, so. I would like to know that too, because they're on public right of way, they're in that 15 feet. I can't do anything with it. So what do we do?
I know come August, we'll have much more detailed discussion.
Would be interested in this subject because I got 7 of them puppies.
On down on August. Okay, yeah, with that, let's go ahead and move on. Mayor, councilors' presentations. I do have a few topics, but first, Councilor Michelle, anything from you?
I don't like the trees either.
Huh?
I don't like the. Cause I live on Vicky, so right next to you. Yeah, and we got those trees all around us, they just drive me crazy. No, I don't have any presentations though.
Okay, anything from you, Councilor Young?
Actually, yes, I do. Now, this is a topic, I guess, for next month. But I just kind of wanted to toss out some ideas for the council to think about, on the water tower sale.
Okay.
You're talking about the lease?
Yeah, well, they want to sell out the leases on the tower.
They don't buy it from us, basically. And, so are they gonna actually take ownership of the water tower? Is that the idea?
No,
No, okay,
just the leases themselves.
all right,
The water tower still stays in our possession.
then I'm done.
All right, let's do
If we do give them ownership, do they have to pay them?
Well, that's so my question, it's maintenance and.
It's a lot of paint gallons that go up there to paint that thing. Okay, If that's it, then good. For mine, the first one is, community garden, real quick. I did get a ping from, the Martinez, that are working with, Counselor Zadi. They are cleaning the garden out. They plan to have vegetables planted at least in one of the plots here soon. So they asked if the, city can go out and just turn the water on so we can start doing that.
Yep.
Second one, I have a call that will be scheduled with Republic Services. It looks like it will probably be Thursday. With Cindy, there's their basically, she's the manager of the Public Services in Woodburn. The discussion will be on rate increases. So she's gonna have a discussion with me. We'll have that then brought into council. My assumption is I will ask her to bring it in for discussion and review. She did let me know back in October of last year that fees are gonna obviously be going up. I think it's been probably 5 or 6 years since they did raise them. Obviously, fuel costs have gone up, operational costs have gone up, and what's even worse is they shut down the burning facility outside of Brooks. And they are now trucking all of our trash to very far locations away. So just FYI, that is gonna be coming our way. No one likes rate increases, but it won't be a surprise. So she's gonna have a conversation with me on Thursday to at least broach the topic, and then I'll ask her to bring it into council.
Didn't they just raise the dumping fees here?
Yep, they did. Yep, they just raised them from $25 to $30 a load. I think they did that January 1st.
Yeah.
And if you haven't been there lately, they're switching out their software to now when you go in to dump a load, you will scan your license. They won't give you a yellow card anymore. So you'll scan your license, it will register your weight going in, you'll scan your license leaving.
Oh, yeah.
They'll have your weight then and you can pay that way, so they won't have the old cards.
It's nice. They have that at the Oregon City one, and it's really nice.
It makes sense. It makes perfect sense. It also allows them to begin tracking who's dumping, how much they're dumping, and how often they're dumping. So that's just heads up there. Register I have another question on here. And I can't read my own writing. So with that, I'll probably remember it later. Let's go ahead and move on to city administrator report outs real quick.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor, councilors. So, I think the biggest things that, I've worked on this last month, probably I worked a great deal with, our attorneys on the HOA, Mineral Springs HOA. We have not heard one word back from them at this point. If we did meet with them in person here, there's some novel legal structures that they're trying to look at how they can dissolve their HOA with. So they don't have any commitment to the tract A, which is the retention area. One of the issues was actually the fact that we were allowing stormwater to go from our drains from above down into theirs. That does not happen directly. They are all standpipes. Since that happened, we have pictures now of the actual standpipes. They go through percolation like a French drain, goes into storm sewer. The storm sewer fills up all the way almost to the top. Only then does it overflow and go elsewhere, which is basically the 50-year flood event. Our attorney does not believe that there's any real issue with that we are okay doing with that. We're not directing water, but as I said, we have not heard back from the HOA as to what they'd like to do with that.
And we have reinforced, at least Martin Echo is well aware that the city council does not want to take ownership of tract A.
And that has been relayed very strongly both to their attorney, by myself, and by our attorney in writing. So.
And what's worse, it's not even theirs to give away.
And that is very true. There is. We are just going through the motions at the moment. I don't think it will go any further than that. Who knows, but at this point, we feel very confident that we have the as-bills for all the subdivisions. We reviewed them. Staff have gone that are knowledgeable, have seen this going, have been up there. We have pictures. I think we've done everything we are required to do, and maybe just a little bit more. So we're happy with that. I won't steal, there's other things I've been working with was Chief Parisi and his wonderful leadership on the Newcom dispatch project. You want me to say? You're fine. I had so much fun this last few months and literally going to the police departments in Newburgh, talking with the chief, we've had some great conversations. But this Monday, we moved our dispatch over to Newcom. I mean, just
Seamless.
like that. I mean, you would, no one knew what was going on. It was that good. And this man right here, his leadership made that work. I'm just.
I did read one comment online in Aurora, they were complaining 911 took too long a couple of weeks ago. And they were reminded that was the prior emergency dispatch services.
That's right. The biggest thing, also for myself and for Public Works is we did award the contract to HB Civil. We'll be meeting with them tomorrow online to get this project underway. This is for the boost pumps, generator, abandoning the existing well that's there, all that good stuff. Who knows, by fall, you may all have water pressure. Or at least a little, I know,
Wonderful.
that would be great, so.
We'll start around January.
Yeah, well, yes, we're to start at 45 PSI and then kind of work our way up to see what pipes to deal with it, but it's very exciting to see this project now actually moving forward. That area.
6 years of the plan.
It's fun when you walk in kind of on the end of it and say, well, we're doing it. But this is a huge amount of work by a lot of folks and the council to see that they shepherd this through. In terms of our administration, you all are aware that our utility billing clerk is moving on to another job. We have been worked with Julie. Julie has been receiving many applications now. We tried Indeed this time around, and by this afternoon, we had 45 applications in. Julie is winnowing those down to a handful, but some look very promising. So this is good. Of course, we'll miss Megan a great deal. She's done a great job for the city and been very good working with our utility folks over in Public Works. I'll mention that we have elections coming up formally. You folks can, if you want to be elected or someone in town, the SEL cell 101s, turn them into City Hall to, we'll probably make Julie our elections officer for the city recorder for this process. And so you can be elected. Also, just to mention, the mayor mentioned with Chief Carmen, our water discoloration issues. I did an analysis of that and just very briefly, it does appear that we have a concentration in our kind of our older central northwest grid of town. This is basically most complaints are on 5th Street, which we flushed on the Saturday. And then 3rd, 4th, 7th Streets, Bays Boulevard, ABC streets, and only a couple on the other side of the tracks. We believe at this point in time, this is our hypothesis, that we had a series of heavy draws from the fire department over the Memorial Day weekend. And they were extraordinary. They weren't our usual draws. And that precipitated this dislodging of sediment into our system. The second part of that is that as the weather has now warmed up, Mike has noticed, our foreman has noticed that we have increased the water flow through our system by almost 50%. And this is just in a week or two period of time. So you combine both those together, what happens is you dislodge a lot of things in the pipes. And the older section of town, I know anecdotally, has had more issues and is more sensitive, I should say, with this than say the newer sections of town. Our response has been to do what we call incremental soft flush, which is I have the folks go out there and don't turn it on all the way, turn it on part way until we get a nice clear color coming out, and then go up sequentially, drawing fresh water up the street and then shutting it off to the side so we can get it all out of the system. The second part is we will be doing some other water tests as well. That's for us to know what's going on, making sure our filters and things are working correctly. And then at the end of this, we will be doing a full follow-up and then also doing a root cause analysis, a formal root cause analysis of what happened and why. How can we manage this going forward?
So I'd let Superintendent Martineko know as well, or in this case, interim
Oh,
Administrator
yeah,
Martineko.
the man with.
No, that once the root cause analysis report is ready, I'll take it and summarize it for a release. Do we know the age of our distribution system pipes in that area?
I can get you the exact number. Mike knows, they're of all different ages.
I know.
But the central area is the one that has the most cast iron pipes, the older pipes systems.
And I'm
So
assuming
ductile-
again,
ductile iron.
and with age is gonna come a lot more thing. We don't have the money to go through and replace all of those.
No, we only replaced the ones that were the most critical
Right.
for the water pressure project.
Again, I'm assuming that will all be in the root cause
It will
analysis
be,
report.
it'll all be part of it and it'll be comprehensive.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. The last item is we did have, we thought for a while we were gonna have to do $185,000 project on on our wastewater system. The sensor clarifier scraper failed completely. Thanks to one of our staff who, the access to this is underneath the big traveling bridge in the very center of this on a very narrow little chunk of concrete with a very little portal. Initially it didn't look like we had any access to it. We'd have to pull the bridge off with a crane to get to it. But after getting his camera all the way in there taking pictures, we were able to see what was going on. And what happened was a bolt had moved out of its support. And after cleaning all the corrosion off, same gentleman was able to get all his hands back in there and get it back in place. So the brushes that are on the slip ring were able to make contact and we got it back in operation again. Fantastic evolution of a lot of people looking at pictures and coming up with good ideas on how to do this and actually make it work without having bubble gum and the usual bubble gum and baling wire that Public Works uses to fix things. We were actually get a solid fix on this. However, moving forward, we have some time to plan and we will be needing to pull that and do some good preventive maintenance. We do not believe we have to replace that center bearing, which was the initial, the $88,000 bearing. We believe we can have it refurbished, put everything back in place and have it last another 50 years. So it went from near disaster to a repair to now a planned maintenance action that we can move forward. Otherwise, in my city administrator's report, I think that manages, you notice by the issue tracker, we've got that window down pretty good. I am sure that it will grow over the next few months, but really we've got several things that have been on there well completed in the last few months. And so that's great.
Okay, and I do remember what I was gonna mention.
Yes,
As we approach the end of June, right, we're in June here, the end of our fiscal year. My ask is to let's make sure that all of our invoices are in, especially over the next,
Yes.
if we can, over the next week, so we have a very easy close. I know we have Eric that will be coming on board, but he's not gonna be here in time really to help a lot with the year and close activities, so my ask to you. And also hopefully to make life easier for Julie and Carrie, so let's make sure we have all of our invoices in as soon as possible, especially anything that's already been purchased. So that would be a big ask there. The second one, following up on the election, yes, the mayor position is open, 2 council positions will be open. I will be letting the community know very soon that I do not plan to seek another term as mayor. I have served by the end of this 9 years and a few months. So I'm a little tired. Although I have been approached by a few individuals that would have been asking me about what it entails. Some are still surprised it's free, but it's a great opportunity to serve one's area. I will let the city know here shortly. I don't want it to, be as a release announcement when we're having issues with the water as if I give up, type of thing. But it's something that has been on my mind. I've let, I think Superintendent Martineko as well as Julie know a few months ago that my decision was going to be this way, primarily because I'm just tired. But this is an amazing position to sit up here. That's for sure. And I'm sure Councilor Young can attest to that as well. There's something that's great about being in the middle of everything, and there's also something very stressful about being in the middle of everything. My blood pressure is a little too high, and the dentist almost didn't even do a cleaning on me the other day because my blood pressure was too high. So I keep getting told reduce stress. I'm like, how? So with that, I do appreciate it. Again, those that are interested, and I know people do listen to this afterwards, and I will remind individuals online as well through a posting that the election submission is open now. I think the state opened it June
June
3rd, if I'm not,
June 3rd.
yes. The deadline to submit your application for the ballot, I believe, is sometime in the middle of August, if I'm not
Yes,
mistaken.
and you can look on the website, it'll say
Yeah.
elections 2026.
Yes, we'll probably have to put something on our own website as well, just. to
That's,
get-
it's on our website.
Okay, perfect, you got it then. Again, I think the challenge most people will run into is, remembering to fill out the proper paperwork and get it turned in. That's usually the hardest part. Outside of that, it's, just getting out there and meeting people. So with that, that's what I was forgetting, that was the invoicing thing, so. I was reading your summary here and you mentioned year-end efforts, that's where it brought up, I'm like, I wanna make sure we're easily closing out the year. Let's move on then to the police department.
All right, good evening, Mayor, councilors, and community members. May was the National Police Week recognition, so we honored those who've served and paid the ultimate sacrifice while protecting their communities and whatnot. During that time, it's really a stark reminder of the importance that the role that law enforcement plays in public safety and whatnot. So their dedication demonstrated by the officers who serve the communities is really bar none. So we just were able to take part in that, which was sombering and whatnot, but fortunate to be able to pay the recognition and respect to those who gave the ultimate sacrifice. We're moving forward with a background investigation on our 7th position. It's a little slow going, but trying to get that dialed in to get that completed and hopefully hired on. Officer Marshall participated in a countywide interagency enforcement operation, if you will, with a bunch of different agencies throughout the county. We also had a good number of us that spent time training during the month of May in a variety of different topics. And also, we're still engaged with the community and different events within the school and all that good stuff as well. But yeah, we're ready now for June and all that good stuff. So.
And how are services with Donald and Aurora going?
You know what, they're going great, actually. We have Officer Montez is in Aurora tonight at the Aurora City Council, so they get to meet him for the first time, so that's exciting. And Officer Bob likewise is over in Donald this evening for the first time as well, attending City Council there. But things have really been going great. It will be, I think, even that much better when we get the 7th officer on as well, as kind of help with some of the staffing, right, exactly. And then too, coming up into the summer months, there's gonna be officers taking time off, and we'll have our events coming up with Hop Fest and Donald Days and also the Aurora Colony Days and all that good stuff as well, but we'll be prepared to respond to those.
Wonderful. Also, much appreciation for our officers being at the North Marion High School graduation at Rolling Hills. Rolling Hills, I think it was Rolling Hills. I didn't see that in the report, but again, we had 2 officers there. They did actually have to engage in an incident that happened in the parking lot. Always exciting. Outside of that, though, it was fantastic. Again, students, West, teachers, etc., all excited to see us there. I would believe since we've been doing that now, they've had no thefts in the parking lot that I know of. The year prior to us participating in it, they had multiple break-ins. So again, fantastic to have them out there, to see them engaged, happy, and again, happy to respond to an incident that was happening. So
Sweet. I'll pass that along. Thank you.
Questions from Councilor Young?
I have none, thank you.
Councilor Bishop?
None, but as always, just appreciate all the work that our officers do in the community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, let's move on to Public Works and to Superintendent Martinetto. Do we have anything additional?
No, I do not, other than we're in summer mode. Hop Fest is certainly on our calendar, line painting, that type of thing, getting things ready. Those are all things that we are talking about, scheduling, and getting taken care of. So, but other than that, everyone is in good spirits. We've had a few compliments from the public on the condition of our parks that I passed on to staff. I think things are actually going along really quite well.
Wonderful. I will say thank you very much from the bottom of my heart for Public Works getting the splash fountain turned on on Memorial Day weekend. I know I went down and watched the turn on with you and Aaron. While we watched the clock tick down a little bit, I'm like, are you sure it's turning on? But it did turn on. The kids have been out there enjoying it. I would recommend, though, I think we have given authority to Public Works on days that are maybe below 70 degrees. You can keep it off.
Okay,
Because I do know that might help with electricity usage and everything else. So I guess my question would be, do we have any update on when the lights might get turned on now?
that is actually being looked at tomorrow again. We're gonna be going up there and looking at lamps. And then the next step, but we're gonna have to open some of the things up there, corroded screws at the bottom. Staff are going to get those out so we can finally figure out where the issue is between the timer, which appears to be working fine, and the lamps, which are not lighting. So we're
I'm just
working
hoping
our
we'll
way
burn down
now,
all.
we're working our way up to the base and up to the top.
Yeah, I don't remember the last time those were turned on. I don't know if I've ever seen them turned on in 20 years. Someone's told me they've been on at one point, but I have no bloody clue. Okay, well, thank you, though. At least the splash fountain's on. Thank you for getting the hammock swing back up. And I'm looking forward to the security camera being installed down there as well.
That is also scheduled, I think that's tomorrow as well. But we'll have them up on the lights.
Wonderful. Again, that's just a deterrent at the end of the day. Hopefully, we won't have any of our young 8th grade gentlemen trying to see how high they can swing that with a lot of people on it. So, but thank you for getting that back into service. I've seen a lot of kids down there enjoying it.
You're welcome, Mr. Mayor.
So I have a thought here, maybe we wait until we get the new city administrator in place, but can we pass an ordinance for, let's say, a weight limit, age and weight limits on that thing? I mean, it's rated at however many pounds, 300, 400 pounds, and then pass city ordinance, and that way we can post that and actually, do some sort of enforcement activity.
I don't see what we can. I think we've already got it posted already over there.
Age limits, but I mean,
Yeah,
if they-
is there a weight limit?
There actually is a weight limit, manufacturers recommended weight limit. It's more-
and is that on the signage?
Actually, okay, so there was a sticker on there that was scratched off by, I think, probably the same individuals that said ages and weight on it. So the idea was that we would look at it and see where we could put that sign up.
Right, I remember that.
Right there, and so that's where we're at, really. And then we had a discussion about maybe this should be an ordinance, or maybe we should have some more regulatory teeth to it. And so that's kind of where we left it, and then we thought security cameras would be a good first start.
Yeah, what I'm trying to avoid though is basically taking kids or whatever that might be up there. I'd rather discourage bad behavior through surveillance first. The other thing too is, technically speaking, the swing is really for those that are mobilely disabled, right? That's what it's there
ADA.
for. So we could also probably put a sign on there saying that there is priority for those who are handicapped. Just like we would for a handicap parking or something else. I'm not saying it's only for those with a disability, but that is the priority should be for those with a disability impairment to be able to, enjoy the park. Okay, Councilor Pichelle?
No question.
Thank you. Okay, wonderful. I do agree, though. I think that's a topic that we need to have when we have our new administrator step into the role. And I'll talk about that more in just a second. I'll actually cover that in for the city business, just to give you guys an update. I do remember that now. Because there's another thing I'd like to talk as both council and with the police department is I think we need to address the motorized electric bikes that are racing around town. I think, at least from my interpretation, I am seeing them as motorized vehicles on a roadway. A motorcycle, whether it's gas powered or electric, to me at this point makes no difference. And I think we've seen a lot of them racing around. I actually had to stop a young gentleman who was using his bike at Burnsy Park using the baseball fields picture diamonds trying to jump. And then he would, kind of spin out and do it again and spin out. And I asked him to please stop. What that's gonna do is damage the pitcher's mound, and it's also damaging the grass around the baseball diamond. The kid was very respectful of, he didn't know I was the mayor, apologized and voted on home. But again, I think I've seen such, an explosion of their usage out there. I think we need to come up with some sort of regulations. I believe Canby or Woodburn might have already done something, or even Oregon City, so if we could find another city. And maybe see what we can figure out on what we could put here into place, just to try to put some controls around it. My biggest concern though is those children getting hurt, and obviously. They're not 16s, they don't have a driver's license, but yet they are driving just as fast as any car on the road.
Yeah, I've seen some electric scooters out there on 99 in traffic.
Yeah.
No, it's, yeah, so I think it's kind of broached the point where it's not much of a toy as much as it's very potentially dangerous for them. And I'm worried about impacts to drivers that might not see them, or if they're not obeying laws because they're not passing a license to get on the road.
Right.
I just think we've got a recipe for disaster coming up. And during the winter months, if they are riding it across public parks, they are gonna tear up turf. And that is very expensive, and that'll just become a mud fest. So anyhow, again, something that we will have to probably approach come August timeframe. Okay, any other questions for Public Works? If not, let's move on to consent agenda, and then I'll give other city business for a quick update. Approval of minutes, May 12th, 2026, City Council. Number 2 is May 13th, 2026, Budget Committee. B, this will be as mentioned, not as in the agenda, but approval of the May 2026 check register report. C, approval for the city administrator employment and approval of the city administrator employment agreement and authorize the mayor to execute the agreement. That is a word salad right there.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as read.
I second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Okay, and have it point out in minutes that 2 are absent. Okay, other city business real quick. I want to give an update. So Eric Underwood has signed the employment agreement. With the approval this evening from you both, I will go ahead and move forward. We did based off the framework of the prior city administrator. And we did have legal review. We did have to do a few red line edits going back and forth with Eric. But it is very still perfect between what we were hoping for. So I think all things work there. His start date will be, I believe, June 22nd. We're still on track for that. So we're a couple of weeks away where he will be able to come on board. With the signing that I can do now this evening, I will look for time with him over the next week to be able to start kind of having discussions with him, and I'll see if he has ability to be able to start sitting down, at least having preliminary discussions with our Public Works Superintendent, Martin Necco. He probably has already talked with Chief Parisi, I'm sure, but at the same time, I'd like him to start having one-on-ones as he can, because he won't be officially starting here, but with an agreement now in place, it has now been publicly announced that he has accepted that position. We do have an agreement contract in place. I'm excited to be able to welcome him on board. So across the board, and hopefully next month we will have him providing the report out. We'll see how that goes. With that, any other city business? Excellent. And again, counselors, if you have any questions after council or in the coming days, especially around Eric Underwood, feel free to reach out. I don't want no secrets. With that, next topic would be adjournment.
Move that we adjourn.
And I make that a second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed say nay. Okay, we are adjourned. Whatever, second name.